Hello everyone, welcome to Trend Talks. Today I have the pleasure to talk with David Johann. He is based in Germany. He is the head of sales Europe and new markets at BELECTRIC. And BELECTRIC was established in 2001 and is a successful company in development and construction of utility scale solar and power plants and energy storage systems. You may also know BELECTRIC from their O&M services. They run over 3 billion of operational PV assets under service contracts. And David was with BELECTRIC since 2010. Welcome, David.
Hello, Edwin.
Good afternoon. David, let's talk a little bit about the market situation. You're head of sales, so you're talking with a lot of customers in the market. So what's your outlook on the European market right now?
Yeah, so generally it's quite good outlook. We see a lot of growth markets in Europe, especially also BELECTRIC's home country, Germany. But Netherlands are quite promising, as well as we see the Nordics coming soon. So there's a lot of project in development in the Nordics, which is super. And a few other countries which we have seen in the longer past, Italy, are also coming back for EPC sales and EPC or EPC services, which is quite interesting. So there's a lot of growth expected, even if maybe all stakeholders see that there's an increasing module price, also other costs for solar, steel, copper, and recently container prices increased, mainly driven, as per our opinion, due to COVID, some crazy situations that is a bit unexpected compared to end of last year outlook. And we see that a few projects will be delayed with expectations that costs will go down again. But that's not foreseen at the moment, at least not until Q1, Q2 next year, and then we have to see.
So you were saying that not before Q1, Q2 next year, you will see prices going down again?
Exactly, yeah. So module manufacturers are announcing that week by week in the World Wide Web, we see it. And also based on our close discussions with partners, that's the information we have at the moment. So earliest Q2 next year, situation hopefully will improve on module pricing. On the other cost items, maybe situation will stabilize and improve then earlier.
So do you see then investors holding off from investment in new solar project developments?
We absolutely see that. A few of our investors already postponing project tenders. Some cannot do because there are some hard deadlines for based on the permits or based on the grid connection agreements. So there's a need, yeah. And then for sure, BELECTRIC as an EPC and O&M contractor will work on how to improve the situation best possible. But yeah, that's the situation. So there's indeed some delayed project due to the current situation.
Yeah. What about energy storage? I can imagine that with the current projects that storage can be added to projects to improve also the value. What is your analysis of the market situation with respect to storage?
So it's also not for BELECTRIC big business at the moment. We do not see that in that market where we are active, which I mentioned, Germany and the Netherlands and Nordics, which Nordics is a new market and storage normally comes a bit later. So now they want to extend their solar power plants. Also in the Netherlands, it's not that much required at the moment. So first, we see more that there's a combination of solar and wind farms or existing wind farm locations where a solar farm can be added and maybe considered in the same grid connection point through the cable pooling, something like that. That's a more interesting application as far as we observe. Similar also, we expect that in the Nordics, where a lot of wind is already installed, and now due to decreasing costs or EPC prices in the past, there is a clear business case for solar. Okay, for sure. The current cost pressure needs to go again in another direction.
Yeah. As head of sales, you will see a lot of EPC contracts, I assume, David. So is there any trend, any change in with respect to contracts and conditions going on?
I do not observe that. So generally, its business is quite major, and the EPC contracts are quite good developed. Also, there's a pressure on higher PR guarantees, for example, is not seen. What we see is that the monitoring and performance management of solar farms becomes more and more important as EPC prices and O&M prices already reached the bottom line last year. And now we already discussed about increasing prices due to the supplier markets. And so performance management, sophisticated SCADA system, data management, and then making the right decisions to improve the performance. That's more focus, which has to be considered in the O&M contracts and EPC contract. There's always a link together.
Yeah. And what about EU regulations with respect to ESG? How do you see that impacting your contracts?
That's indeed a big challenge. So there are coming more and more requirements from the EU or from the local governments, which impact our EPC and O&M services. So recently, ESG regulations, environmental sustainability governance regulations needs more overhead costs within an EPC contractor like BELECTRIC, which in the end also needs to be earned. Money need to be earned. So that's a challenge. And new regulations always need some time to be understood and to be treated in the right way so that no risks occur for our customers at a later stage. ESG is one example. Also the supply chain sustainability. We need to monitor our supply chain until the last supplier in the chain and need to do detailed assessments that no risks occur there and everything is compliant. So all this needs manpower and we'll add extra cost to solar, and that's indeed special requirements and impact our business.
Yeah, if you add it up, David, you could say there is an impact from the price increases in the value chain. There is more regulation coming, impacting pricing. What we hear also is the impact of more insurances. Does that mean that the prices of solar systems can still go down further, or will all those regulations and conditions increase prices of power plants?
I see it's quite challenging to get prices further down due to this big price increase in modules, and it seems that this take a bit longer. There are possibilities to minimize the burden or to keep prices stable, what we have seen mid of last year, something around that. That's possible, especially due to technology. There are still some developments. You know that quite soon we will install the first 600 watt plus modules of the large wafer technology, which can impact the BOS costs, but it's always project specific to be considered. What's also very important is to consider the best technology at a very early stage in the development phase. So that's a change also to the longer past in the business. That a project developer and EPC and O&M provider needs to collaborate at a very early stage of the development, because what we see is that for this 1 year or 1.5 year development phase, project technologies will be permitted, which is not up to date when it's come to the EPC and O&M. And then it's sometimes quite difficult to change permits based on new technology because modules are larger, inverter stations are larger, etc. And so a close collaboration between the developer and the EPC at an early stage to also have some future outlook, because we are looking 2-3 years into the future to see what technology will come and how can we integrate it.
All right. Thank you for this interview, David. And I look forward to meeting you at one of our events in person very soon. Thanks very much.
We will. Thank you, Edwin. Have a good day. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.